Hi guys and welcome back. Today is going to be a nice light sketching video, and this piece is what I will be drawing today. And I just want to talk a little bit today about some of the techniques that I am practicing in my sketchbook, as well as the things that I want to get better at that I've been realizing I'm a little bit deficient at when it comes to sketching. But as you can see, I'm using very limited supplies in the sketchbook right now. I just have two different colors of Color Erase pencils, my Palomino pencil sharpener, and then finally the paper that I'm using is Canson XL and just the drawing pad. And I'll have a link to everything that I'm using down in the description like usual, but I just got actually these new Color Erase pencils in, and I'm super excited. I feel like these are going to be a little bit of game changers as far as how I sketch, because this is a small side note, but I've been using Color Erase pencils for a very long time now. Probably a couple years, actually, probably closer to 5 years now that I think about it. But a few years back, I wanted to get a bunch of them, just find a way that I could like bulk order them and have a bunch sitting in my closet, and then when I needed one I'll just pull it out. And I found them on Costco, so I got this huge bulk order and they only had blue and red, so I got blue and red, and I've been using those exact same colors for years now, and I think I've gotten very sick of looking at those two colors and finally being able to add a couple more. And I don't know why well, I do know why it took me so long to get new pencils, because I had a stock of these Color Erase pencils for so long it didn't feel right to buy new ones. But I'm finally reaching the ends of that stash so I can bring in some more life to the pencils that I'm using. But that is why I'm super excited about these ones. So the black one is going to be really great, as I've definitely discovered so far in this drawing. For doing more finalized lines, it is a lot less smudgy than regular graphite pencils, and that's the reason why I gravitate towards Color Erase pencils. It's entirely because of the texture. And I get asked that a lot, and a lot of different artists have different reasons why they choose Color Erase, but for me it's 100% just the texture. It's not going to smudge under my hand, and I'm able to get this really nice built up quality that's similar to normal colored pencils, but I can erase it, and I find that it's a lot sharper, and I'm able to get much more precise lines with these. But yeah, overall I really do love these pencils, but having that black and being able to incorporate other colors, I think, is going to really make me enjoy sketching with these again. And one more small note before we dive into the topic. I am working over at my work desk, but out of the frame I have my phone pulled up, and I have the Pinterest app, and I just have that pulled up, and I scrolled through the photos till I found a good portrait that I wanted to work off of. And I love working this way because it gets me away from my computer, and I find that that really helps me to get like a fresh way of drawing, since I sit behind my computer all day. But just having that really small little reference to work off of, to base my drawing off of, and to start getting more realistic details has been a huge help and a huge boost in the quality of my pieces. So if you haven't used references while you're sketching too, I definitely recommend it. I've found that I have a lot more enjoyable of a time when I have something to base it off of. Even if the sketch that I'm working on ends up completely different than what I was drawing from, it does help. It's a lot better than starting from nothing and only working from a blank page. Okay, so now I can get to the topic at hand, and that's sketching. But I want to be a little bit more specific. I want to talk about the mindset behind sketching and the technique behind it. Not necessarily what you are drawing subject-wise, but simply you and when you're drawing. So these things are things that I have personally, I'm going through and I'm trying to keep in check and I'm trying to figure out. But when it comes to sketching, we all have different needs and different ways that we work, but also different things that we need to improve on to be able to do the work that we want to do. So for me, for instance, I have realized that I've begun working, well, I have been working for kind of a long time now in a way that no longer works with the way that I want to produce artwork. And what I mean by that is, when I was younger, pretty much through high school, I believe, I worked very slowly in my sketchbook. Very slowly. I would take my time. I would come back to the piece and I would spend days where I would be fiddling away with the drawing. And it was incredibly slow going. It meant that I got very few drawings done because I was being so slow at it. And I was also not able to get very fluid line work because I was trying to be very slow and methodic. So instead of doing one smooth line, I got really slow, hatchy lines that looked really choppy. And when I went to college, I realized, and thanks to several teachers, that was just not a good technique for drawing in my sketchbook, because it was really limiting me and I wasn't getting the mileage that I needed to. I wasn't drawing enough because I was stuck on the same drawing, and I was also not practicing better hand movements to get the gestures right. So I completely dove into figuring out how to sketch better, how to sketch quicker, and also how to get the kind of energy into each stroke that I wanted. And that was a huge boost in the quality of my pieces and being able to get a lot more ideas out. I felt so great about that, and the process that I was seeing myself go down that path and the progress in my sketchbooks, it just felt really great. I started filling up sketchbooks really fast, and I was getting these ideas out. And now I realize that I've kind of brought it to an extreme. I'm at a point where I look at my sketchbooks and they are very rushed. When I'm actually sketching in my sketchbook, I feel extremely rushed, to the point that I feel almost guilty or stressed if I spend too much time on one sketch. And I don't know if this is something that anyone else experiences. Maybe it's the complete opposite, but for me, I've noticed that I feel this like anxious need to create quantity over quality, that is. So I will just blaze through each piece and try to sketch something out quick and then sketch another one. And then I feel unsatisfied by those sketches and frustrated that they don't look great because they're really fast and rough. And because I feel unsatisfied with them, I don't spend as much time in my sketchbook. I give up working on my sketchbook and I go work on, say, a finished piece. And I want to get back into loving my sketchbook, loving the time that I can spend in it. So I think now is the time for me to start balancing these two extremes that I've been in. I need to be able to make graceful line work. I need to work fast enough that I can produce good-looking drawings in my sketchbook quickly enough that I can move on and not get stuck. But also I need to be able to spend time to enjoy the process and to also do cleaner drawings. That, I think, is the biggest thing that I miss, is that I push myself really far over to a direction that's very loose and sketchy, but not necessarily in a way that I actually enjoy creating artwork. So I have been practicing this a little bit in the sketchbook, the last couple of pages of just like slowing down, thinking through, why am I feeling rushed? Is this a real feeling that I should be feeling, or is this something that's a little bit more subconscious and I need to pull in and control? And because of that, I've really actually enjoyed drawing in my sketchbook for once in a very, very long time. And this is one of the examples. I was very careful and methodical about the choices that I was making. I was being thoughtful about each stroke that I was making rather than mindlessly drawing it like I pretty much always do. And I do feel really good about this. I think that it's something that I have to keep reminding myself as I'm working, because there are a lot of things like this where I work in a certain way and I have a little bit of a breakthrough and I start figuring it out. And then just as day to day goes and I have to create more and more work, I slide back down into that realm that I was in already, where that's just my default setting. So I do need to make sure that as I sketch in my sketchbook, I constantly need to remind myself to breathe and give myself time to draw a drawing that I am happy with and to explore new ideas that I'm happy with too. That's a big thing, is that I am not thinking through these ideas or thinking through what can I do to make it unique or interesting or exciting for me. I'm just kind of throwing stuff down. So yeah, I think that it'll take me a while of reinforcing it before it becomes habit, before it becomes the way that I work. And that's what they say. They say that it takes like 21 days of doing a certain thing for it to be a habit, and maybe it'll take me that long or longer to undo this thought process I have when I'm sketching, but I know I can do it. So I think the takeaway of all this chit-chatting about sketching is just to be a little bit more self-critical about the process behind the sketches. Sometimes, at least I know, I can get caught up in just analyzing what exactly I'm drawing, and I can forget that the mindset that I have behind it really does affect the quality of the pieces that I'm creating. The way that I've been thinking means that my pieces aren't able to be as good as I want them to. And yeah, I'm looking at the pieces and thinking, well, how can I draw this better? When sometimes the answer is, how can I think better when I'm drawing? And I think that the biggest thing about this is that that is what I'm going through, where I feel like I need to slow down and be a little bit more in love with the pieces as I'm drawing them. But for each person, it's completely different. For me, as a high school student back in the day, when I was very slow with my sketches and timid. I think timid is the perfect word for how I sketched then. The right advice for myself then would have been to work looser, to have more broad strokes, to work faster, and that would have been the solution. So ultimately, it's just figuring out how you work, what the direction you want to go in is, and what feelings you have when you are working, to be more subconscious about or more aware of what subconsciously is happening when you're creating. And that is it for today's sketch. I would love to hear you guys' suggestions on things you'd like to hear me talk about or things that you'd like to see in my pieces. Definitely leave some comments down below. I'm always interested, especially in subjects on what you want me to talk about, because I love talking about art and I want to know what you guys are interested in. So please let me know. That really actually does help me a lot when I'm making these videos. And I do think I really want to do a sketchbook series where I can talk about what you're drawing, how to get better at it, how to think of ideas when you don't know what to draw. So again, if you have any suggestions pertaining to sketches specifically, let me know as well. And I do actually plan on selling this sketch, so if you'd like to buy it, I'll be cutting it out into an 8.5 by 11 piece. So it'll be on my shop and it'll be pretty cheap because it is just a sketch, but I'll have a link in the description as well as in the end card that'll take you to my art shop, and I've got lots of prints and buttons, and anything that you buy there is a huge, huge support to me. So again, thank you so much for anyone who's ever bought from that shop. It means the world to me. But yeah, I think that is pretty much it for today. I will be posting every Wednesdays and Saturdays, so I'll see you guys at my next one.